there's a real infrastructure on the right to create social media memes. And, tell us the significance before we go back into sort of some of the structure and some of what's going on there and how the left is, if there is any type of, similar structure on the left. What's the importance here? I mean, or what is the speculation as to the importance? Because it seems to me that there has been an ongoing transition. It is not a full transition. But as someone who is part of a generation that grew up without social media, spent, I think, what will ultimately be the majority of my life without social media, but works in a business, essentially now. YouTube is as important as terrestrial radio, at least to my business and to my living, has an awareness of social media. I feel like we're at a point where the right understands this is where the future is. And I mean that in terms of like means of communication, but also where young people are. And they are investing in this infrastructure. Do you have a sense that there's any appreciation of that in the broad institutional left?
I don't think so. I mean, I shouldn't say that. It may be changing because I think that there are a few people on the left who recognize it. It's a difficult problem for them to solve because the left doesn't trade in this kind of, the left prides itself, I think, on facts and the truth on some level, and they don't make very good memes because they're not interested in misleading people as much, I think. And so it's not something that they've focused on. But I think that, it could change. You have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who has turned out to be a pretty fantastic social media presence for the Democrats. She gets this. She doesn't meme, but she's very good on social media. And I think it's proven to the party that this is something that maybe they should be doing. But again, it's, it takes somebody with a gift for it. I think the bigger problem is that a lot of these memes originally started from these very right-wing and occasionally, white nationalist groups, basically on 4chan, that, the joke is that there are a bunch of guys in their parents' basement smoking weed, and that's your meme. Those are the meme warriors, and they are not very politically correct, and they cluster together and reinforce each other's ideas about race and affirmative action and gender and all of that stuff. And so that culture, it's not something that naturally feeds into the Democratic Party, and it's also very fickle. It's kind of interesting. The Andrew Yang, who's kind of come out of nowhere as a potential presidential contender this year, the meme warriors like him, and so they've been memeing Andrew Yang into a candidacy into a presidential race, which is strange because he's has nothing to do with white nationalists, but they're supporting him on some level on these this political field, and so it's kind of it's a little bit difficult to harness. But I think that the Democrats aren't really even thinking about it at this point. Unlike, say, President Trump, who understood from very early on how potent these things could be. You saw him in 2016 retweeting a lot of these memes that came out of like alt-right, the cesspools of the internet, but it worked for him.
Well, talk about that, because that brings up Jeff Giesa and my good friend Mike Cernovich, who I should say, also full disclosure, got me fired for a couple of days from MSNBC, and then didn't. But Jeff Giesa and this Mike Cernovich organized something that you write about called MAGA 3X. What is that, and with whose help did they get that organized?
It's funny. I can't say that I fully understand what that was myself on some level because it doesn't really exist anymore. It was really short-lived, but they tried to harness those meme warriors who are out there on Reddit and 4chan and other places and to drive them to promote President Trump. And they they organized things. They actually had a meme generator, I think, on their site at one point to get people to try to make more memes and to use it to organize flash mobs to support President Trump. And they managed to, I think they also set up a lot of bogus Twitter and social media accounts. So it's hard to know how many people were actually involved, but there were tens of, I think there were something like 10,000 social media accounts tied to this, and they were all just, hammering away with, promoting memes that all promoted President Trump and, attacked Hillary Clinton, I think. And it was thought to be pretty successful.
Well, I can tell you, I know what they did with those 10,000 bots after the election. I can assure you, I had a firsthand experience with a lot of those bots, and in many respects, that's what I think made Cernovich at least a short-lived, successful social media troller. All right, so. With an awareness, like how much do you think like institutional support, so they've set up institutions. I know that TPUSA is now a very well-funded organization, millions of dollars annually is their budget. Is there other outfits that are getting funds and presumably who knows if this stuff is coming from Foster Freeze, if it's coming from the Koch brothers, if it's coming from, other, do you have a sense of who is funding these things?
Well, I think you hit several of them, the people who fund TPUSA. I saw this. There was some meme training at Students for Liberty conference last year that was it's a libertarian organization, and gosh, I can't remember who funds them, but it's a lot of the same characters, the Cato Institute and the, Foster Freeze was a startup money, I think, for TPUSA, and the Koch brothers and the oil and gas industry have definitely piled in with their stuff. But I think you're going to see more of this because the thing about the right is that the infrastructure already existed. They already have the Leadership Institute and these other very established organizations that do nothing but pluck kids out of college and train them in conservative ideology and politics. And so for them, it was a natural segue to go from that into, social media training. And there's just nothing like that on the left. There is no equivalent of TPUSA on the left. And so, the people, the conservatives are starting from a much, they got a head start on this one.
Indeed. Well, let me just say for the record, if someone wants to hire me as a meme consultant, happy to do that. If there's any folks out there looking to expend that cash. But this is going to be a major battleground in the future, and important to have a sense of how it's growing on the right. Stephanie Mencimer, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.